I really love filming these chill type of videos, and the last time I did this ranking type of video, you guys seem to really enjoy it and asked me next time to do hamster supplies. So I asked you on Instagram to give me a list of different hamster products or supplies for me to rank. The way I'm going to be ranking these supplies is basically off of whether or not I actually use them or not, or if I think they are absolute garbage. So the first thing on our list here is we have the 11-inch Wodent wheel. Now I really do like this wheel. I use this for Waddles, my Chinese hamster, and the only issue I have with it is he pees in his wheel so much, and it is quite hard to actually clean it. You have to take a pin out, and I usually use pliers. You have all these little bits that you could lose. So I'm gonna have to put it in the like category for that reason. Next up, we have the 12-inch silent runner wheel. I use this for my female Syrian hamster. This is a great wheel. It actually is quite silent, especially once you've Velcroed it to something so that it doesn't rock back and forth. I have it Velcroed to a platform, so it doesn't move at all. This one's also super easy to clean. The front bit just pops right off, so I'm gonna have to say I love this. Next up, we have the good old bamboo roots. I have 2 of these from Night Angel, and I don't know if it's just mine or if I need like some bigger ones, but mine are really short and stubby. I love the look of them, but I just don't find much use out of them because of the way they're shaped. They can't really use them to go underneath or climb them, or I haven't observed my hamsters using them a whole lot. Maybe if I had like a bigger bamboo root, they would use it a little bit more. So I'm gonna have to put it in the meh tier because I currently am not using them. Next up, we have the Full Cheeks Freshening Spray. Now for me personally, this is gonna go straight in the garbage. It's supposed to be a waterless bath, but it's essentially a foam you rub on your small animal. And if you've ever taken foam and rubbed it on yourself, it is still semi-liquidy. It's gonna make your fur damp, so it's still getting their fur wet. And if you can't handle the smell of a pet, just don't get a pet, okay? Next up, we have Cork logs. I absolutely love these. There's so many uses for them. 1, it's a tunnel. 2, privacy for them to hide in or if they want to sleep in it. 3, they can climb on it. 4, it's textured, so it also can trim their nails down. Have to put that in the love category. Next up, we got 2 of these on here for some reason, but they are the fabric hammocks. I think these can be kind of controversial sometimes, but personally, I don't use them and I don't find much point in them. They can be a little bit dangerous because hamsters, if there's fabric in their enclosure, a lot of hamsters are going to want to shred it up, bring it back to their nest, and if they accidentally ingest any, it can cause a blockage, or if there's any strings, they could get wrapped around their limbs and cut off circulation. Hamsters also really are not super climbers. They're not like rats and mice who actually can use hammocky type things. So I personally don't use these. Next up, we have plastic tubes. I also personally don't use these. They just aren't the greatest. When you buy them in the pet store, they're likely not going to be large enough for the most popular species, the Syrian hamster. So you run the risk of your hamster getting stuck in them. The ventilation inside of them is also really poor. I've seen these get pretty humid in hotter climates, so I personally don't use them. I know that some people might use them just for like connecting short things, and I don't think that's necessarily bad, but I don't use them. Oh, next up we have the very famous edible logs. If you don't know what this is a log they've created, and they have different shapes. This one's just like a tube, and it's made from pine shavings and honey. And so when your hamster sees it, they're like, oh my gosh, it's honey. And they start chewing it and they're gonna eat it because the honey is mixed in with the pine shavings. So there's no way to separate out the shavings. They're just ingesting shavings. And while it is okay for your hamster to ingest a little bit of their bedding once in a while, large amounts definitely is going to run the risk of a internal blockage. So for that reason, I'm putting it in the garbage. Also, the fact that it is honey and there's so many species that are prone to diabetes is a big no-no. Next up, we have bendable bridges. I have a ton of these. I used to use them a lot. I haven't recently. I just don't have a space in my enclosures right now for one. But when I do use these, I'm very cautious to make sure that I fill every single crack with school glue and moss. As you can see in this picture, even you can see the little cracks, and your hamster can get their toe or foot caught in that. So that's why you have to be really, really careful with these. I'm gonna put this in the like section because I do like them. Then we have water bottles. I think a lot of people think I hate water bottles, and I don't. I don't really have a preference. I don't care what somebody uses as long as you're offering your hamster fresh water. That's all that matters. But with that being said, I personally like using water dishes. I find them 100% easier to clean because they don't have that little tube. And my hamsters just have easier access to as much water as they want. Try drinking out of a hamster water bottle. It is very exhausting. So I don't use these. Next up, we have the Casey egg glues. I used to use these all the time, but they're made from plastic, so your hamster can chew them, and chewing plastic obviously is not a good thing. And two, they are pretty semi-transparent, so a lot of light comes through. You really don't want that for where your hamster is going to be sleeping because it can bother them. So I personally don't use these, but I do think they can work for rescues who need to be using a lot and are going through a lot of hamsters and having to wash them and stuff. Next up, we have puzzle playgrounds. This is so iconic. I remember having at least 3 or 4 boxes of these and trying to set them up, and you'd finally come up with an idea and you'd almost be done. You'd put the last one on and the entire thing would just poof. It would just fall apart, and it was so frustrating. Those little bridges that come with them, half the time the little pegs would break off, and the openings, they're really just, I don't think they're large enough for Syrian hamsters, so they're kind of just really small. Plus it's made out of plastic. I just personally don't use them anymore. Aha! Next up, we have the famous hamster ball. Straight into the trash. Boop. If you're interested in knowing why I would put this straight in the trash, I will leave a link to the video that I did all about them. Next up, we have Oxbow Orchard Grass Hay. Now what this is used for is bedding stability. So when you are putting your bedding in the enclosure, you would put your main bedding and then you'd put a layer of hay. Then you put your main bedding, layer of hay. So it'd be like, it'd look like a lasagna from the side. And that really helps when your hamster is burrowing. If the bedding that you're using doesn't hold very good, it would help having the hay in there. But my bedding that I have now, once I compact it, it is excellent at holding burrows. There's really no need for the hay. Sometimes if I have the hay on hand, I'll add it in just for some fun or for some nesting. But I do like this because it is helpful for people who don't have really stable bedding. Then we have Eco Earth. This is a substrate that my hamsters love digging in. I'm probably gonna have to put this in the love category because Dipper, he just loves rolling in it and digging in it. I unfortunately had to throw his away and I have to buy him some new ones because he decided he wanted to pee in it. Then we have the KT Clean and Cozy. I used to use this bedding a lot. I loved it. It was super, super soft. And then all of a sudden, every single bag I would buy was so completely dusty. It was such a shame because it is a really nice bedding, but I personally can't use it anymore because it's so dusty. Then we have yogurt drops. While these are not necessarily toxic, I would throw them in the garbage still because I just find them to be a waste of money, and you can use a way healthier treat. These are just literal fat and sugar you're feeding your hamster. So you could just feed your hamster literally any other treat, like a small piece of fruit. Then we have hemp shavings. Now this is a safe bedding to use. I've personally never tried it out because I don't think we even have it here, but it is safe to use. The only thing is a lot of people find that it doesn't hold burrows very well. So if you're going to use it, you'd probably want to pair that with orchard grass hay. Next up, we got Flax sprays. So my hamsters adore these, but I'm going to put them in the like tier simply for the reason that they like them too much. And I put the flax sprays in the cage and immediately they are eating all of the heads, and then it just looks awful in the cage. It just looks like a bunch of sticks. So for that reason, I'm putting it in the like, because I wish my hamsters loved it slightly less, so at least it could look nice in the enclosure for a longer period of time. Next up, we have the Oxbow nesting discs. Now, personally, I don't use these. I think they're a waste of money. If somebody gave them to me for free, I certainly would use them. But would I go out on my own and spend my money on them? No, because I have toilet paper that I already purchased for my home that's way softer that I could use for my hamsters. Next up, we have the Uber paper bedding. This one's going into the love tier because this is an awesome paper bedding. It has the least amount of dust that I've seen in a paper bedding. The only issue is that it's only available in like one pet store where I live, and they don't order a ton of bags in, and it is fairly expensive. Next up, we have the famous cardboard toilet paper tube. I used to not be a huge fan of these because my hamsters didn't seem to really use them until I got Mabel, and I make her boredom breakers all the time and she absolutely loves them. So we'll put them in love for her. Then we have the expandable plastic tube. I use this when I have my hamsters in the playpen, and I really like it because you can actually bend it a whole bunch. I wouldn't put this inside of the enclosure because the plastic is really thin and easy to chew, but for playtime, it works great. Aha, next we have Fluff. Straight into the garbage you go. Fluff is a waste of money and dangerous to your hamster. So why would you even bother when you can just use toilet paper? That is a lot safer. Then we have a hamster potty. I personally don't use this. I just find it's really hard to potty train a hamster, and they already are gonna select a certain corner, so I don't really necessarily need them to go into a potty. I already know where they're gonna pee usually, so that's just why I haven't bothered. Then we have mineral chews. These are unnecessary and can potentially be dangerous for your hamster. They're unnecessary because your hamster should be getting all of the vitamins and minerals they need from their natural daily diet, and that's the best way to get vitamins and minerals is from natural foods. The other thing is they can potentially be dangerous because if your hamster is eating an excessive amount, that could potentially be harmful to their kidneys, livers, other organs if they're getting too much of a certain mineral. Last but not least, we have Critter Pops here. I had these at one time, and when I was looking at the ingredients recently, I was like, wow, these are essentially just rice, sugar, and heavy dyes, and for our pets, we usually want to avoid dyes. So I would throw these in the garbage. So that is how I would rate everything based on my opinions of whether or not I use them or not. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!